Time to get the Barbarian painted and ready for the table. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm back with the last hero from HeroQuest, and this is the Barbarian who's primed in Army Painter's matte white. We're going to be starting off with a little tanned flesh instead of some Barbarian flesh as I would normally do on a Barbarian, but I decided to do tanned flesh. A little bit darker because we're going to be using the Barbarian flesh as a highlight afterwards. So you're going to want to get this on all the skin. There's some pretty much arms, legs, chest, face. And as you can see, this tan, I don't even know if I've used this tan flesh before, but it's a great paint and it covers really well. Does a good job over the white as well. And painting with white primer is actually kind of a good thing because you get to see what you've already painted when you haven't. Now we're going to do a quick little dry brush of Barbarian flesh just to lighten a bit of the skin because it is quite dark, and with the wash we're going to put on later on we don't want it to be super dark. So doing this just gets the edges, a little bit and brings it a little bit lighter, like I said. Does a pretty good job with that. Now we're going to use some Reikland Flesh Shade. This is a Citadel shade. We're going to use this on all the flesh, of course. The reason why I did this is actually because I wanted, if I touched any of the other parts of the miniature, I could paint over it well after it dried. And you might be wondering why I didn't use an Army Painter flesh wash or light tone or dark tone. I just kind of like more the Citadel shades, to be honest. Anyways, we're going to be using some matte black now on his hair. He's got very dark hair, so just be careful not to get that skin already done. But if you do, it's not at the end of the world. You could touch it up and, you could use it as a highlight around the hair, I guess. Now we're going to start working on his clothing, and this is Abomination Gore. It's a very dark red. I accidentally painted some of the areas that were supposed to be another color, but I can go over it after, and surprisingly enough, I thought the red was going to come through. It did a little bit at first, but if you just put a second layer or a second coat, it comes out looking perfect. But anyway, so this Abomination Gore, like I said, we're also going to use it on his, arm wraps, I guess. It's like the leather armor or something, and also around his legs as well. He's got these sort of like fur boots kind of thing, so the red is going to be used there as well. We're going to do the last part of his clothing now with this ultramarine blue. So you can see the red does come through a bit at the beginning there. It makes like a purple. I was like, uh-oh. But just go over it again and it clears it up. So I got a couple spots where I put the red by accident. It was kind of hard to differentiate where that part of his loincloth stopped. But I mean, you just go with what you think is right. You put it there. And I also did the hilt of his sword with that blue. Next, we're going to be doing all the fur that's coming out of some of his clothing with some Banshee Brown. This is a very light brown, almost beige, and it works perfectly around the belts and around the top parts of his boots and around his armor or arm thingy, whatever. The one thing I hated painting on some of these miniatures was, and I think I mentioned this for the goblins, was the sandals. This guy, of course, is wearing sandals. So using that Banshee Brown to just try and highlight all the little straps that are around and the underneath part. I mean, you can get a bit of the base with it. It's not a big deal because we're going to be painting that after. But yeah, people have a hard time with faces. So I do, but sandals, oh my god. My Achilles heel, I guess. Next, we're going to be using a metallic paint from Army Painter. This is Gun Metal. This is more dark than Shining Silver or Plate Mail Metal. So this is good for these kind of swords and all that. Considering also going to be using a contrast paint to highlight some of these metallic parts. So he's got a belt buckle as well. And he's got these straps that are also holding on. I guess they're just holding on like the boots, or not the boots, but his arms braces or arm pieces, armor. I don't know. If you guys know how to call these things, please let me know. I always make a mistake with all these names, but this is where I'm painting those parts. Of all the miniatures in this game, it's the only one that actually has texture to his base. He's got like a rock that he's standing on. So I decided not to paint the whole thing black. I decided to paint the top part uniform gray. The rim will be black after, but this is just to make it a little bit different since he is standing on a rock, and the shade later on will come in and fill out the cracks. Some Iandon Yellow is a Citadel contrast. I could be using this on the hilt of his sword as well as that belt buckle. Now if you want to do a nice shining gold and without using a gold paint, Iandon Yellow does the job. Now we're going to use some Nuln Oil pretty much on the rest of the miniature. I re-dry brushed some Barbarian flesh over that Reichland flesh side just to get a little bit more highlight again. And if you hit it again with the Nuln Oil, it's not a big deal. It'll just go into the recess a little bit more and create that effect of highlighting as well. Anyway, so the Barbarian will be all painted. You'll see I'll do the base too with the Nuln Oil just so that it finishes off the miniature. So I hope you enjoyed these videos, guys. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And now the Barbarian is ready for the table. That is the last miniature from the HeroQuest board game. There's still the furniture left to do, but we'll see if we're going to continue doing that on the channel or not. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.